So, on today's discussion, I have chosen to relate to the story of Nehemiah. Nehemiah felt called and had a vision to restore Jerusalem's walls when no one else did. He saw this calling and pursued it. And within the story, we see in the power of vision in the book stories of the great heroes of the Old Testament. It says Nehemiah has had a vision of a better future for Jerusalem. He had realized the city had no future without walls. It was commended that the Jews had rebuilt the temple first, but they had left it standing defenseless without the walls around the city. And so in this process, he was able to use other people around who had different gifts and abilities to help bring this vision to life and pursue the calling that God had placed on his heart. And I feel like I'm able to relate to Nehemiah because the vision God has placed in my life is to reach out to those who have not been reached on the mission field, to be a mother to the motherless of the nations around the world. And so many people, when they hear missions, they'll be like, oh, we have a lot of issues in the States, like, why can't you help here? And my biggest response to that is, if we all had the same calling to be in America, no one would be overseas. And if everyone had the same calling to be overseas, no one would be in America. And my specific calling has been to branch out to the nations. And what that looked like in pursuing this calling on my life meant coming to Liberty University and finding a degree in Christian leadership that helps me get to a point that I can successfully, and whatever that looks like through God, to get to that point. What that looks like of me spending the last 10 years doing missions in different places, whether it was South America, South Africa, Middle East. I've always gone to where God has called me, no questions. But in that process, like Nehemiah, I have found on the mission field, there are also so many callings. There's a calling to teach, there's a calling to evangelize, there's a calling to equip those with tools to evangelize to their own people. There's people there to equip them with the means to find a job and to find God within the workplace. And so slowly finding that even within missions, there are all these different people that come together for good. And so that's where I feel like I've been able to relate to Nehemiah as they talk about him having this great sense of leadership. My goal is to aspire to be like Nehemiah, to be able to not just have a vision and follow God's calling on my life, but to continuously pursue that and having the wisdom, the skills, and the knowledge, and the humility, and the servant attitude to fulfill what God has put on my life when it comes to restoring hearts with the love of God and restoring physical needs, mental needs, and spiritual needs. And so I do find within all of the Old Testament heroes that I think we can all find ourselves relatable to each and every one of them in different seasons and different aspects in our life. And so right now, I definitely feel called and relatable to Nehemiah when it comes to visioneering and pursuing something that many people are uncomfortable or don't want to pursue. And so, yeah, thanks for listening.